Yeah, thank you for visiting the next session where Moritz and me want to present to you how SAP Cloud ALM is supporting the S/4HANA conversion project. So Moritz and me, we are both working in the product management of SAP Cloud ALM. Moritz is responsible there for the change and deployment management, and I'm responsible for the integration of the SAP Readiness Check. We have divided the session in various points. I will start at the beginning with SAP Readiness Check, give you there some information about that. I also want to present and show you a new integration that is making the Readiness Check integration even better than it was some weeks back. I also want to talk about system conversion and clean core. Does this work together? And then I will start with a demo that you also can see that it is live and existing what we are talking about here. And then Moritz is going to take over and is explaining the dual maintenance of ECC and S4 and Retrofit in Cloud ALM. And then at the end, we will also, of course, have time for questions. Okay, so first question to the room. Who of you is familiar with the SAP Readiness Check? Just please raise your hand. Okay, and who of you has used the Readiness Check in SAP Cloud ALM? Okay, so that's not that too much, so that's why I always repeat that the usage of the Readiness Check also in Cloud ALM does make sense, and where are the advantages. So for those of you who are not knowing the Readiness Check, it's at the end supporting your various projects, whether you're doing an S4 system conversion, an S4HANA upgrade, BW for HANA conversion, or also for Cloud ALM, for example, we have there scenarios in place, and Readiness Check is helping you finding all the relevant information tailored to your system that you want to migrate or to transform, and is giving you there everything that you need. Specifically for the S/4HANA conversion that we are talking about in this session, there are a lot of checks, simplification items, add-ons that you have installed, whether they are compatible then with S4. Custom code analysis is an important topic. So all of these different checks are part of the Readiness Check. And as said, the Readiness Check is available inside SAP Cloud ALM. So for those of you who have not used it so far, then you most likely have worked in the SAP For Me environment and used there the Readiness Check. But the same application, really one-to-one, is available inside your SAP Cloud ALM tenant. And there are some advantages when you are using it inside Cloud ALM. You don't have to deal with any S-user authorizations. We have a very simple authorization concept also for the Readiness Check. So there are just two roles in place, one for displaying the Readiness Check, and the other one is then for the integration with SAP Cloud ALM. The integration itself is also customizable, so you can also define which follow-ups you want to create from the Readiness Check. And we have there also included some reporting capabilities. And this is everything that you also don't have when you are using it in SAP For Me. So what can SAP Cloud ALM now do for system conversion projects? And I'm starting there on the left-hand side with the digital discovery assessment. So that's really at the beginning of the journey where you analyze which processes do you have in place right now, and whether do you want to use them also in future on S4. You're also discussing and evaluating there whether which target infrastructure is relevant, so whether it is on-prem or private cloud, or even if you can go to public cloud. And the results of the digital discovery assessment can be uploaded to Cloud ALM. So all the results, everything that you have done there already can be reused in your project in itself. You don't have to redo then this scope definition. Then SAP Activate on the left upper side. This is directly from the beginning, of course, the one central part of SAP Cloud ALM. All Activate roadmaps are directly available inside Cloud ALM. If there is an update to the Activate roadmap, then this will be directly reflected also in Cloud ALM and provides you with all tools, templates, etc., what is part of that and can be directly consumed. Then I already spoke about the Readiness Check. As said, directly available there. And we have attached to the Readiness Check also the custom code migration app. I will talk about this then in a second. And in a system conversion project, of course, testing is also important. So we have the Tricentis test automation in place. So when we are talking about a system conversion, what is the usual approach is you start with you're copying your production system into a sandbox system, and then you try the first conversion. So you have then there several iterations. That means you are practicing this 3, 4, 5 times. And of course, you are then also performing all the time the same tests. And this means if you're repeating the testing efforts every time, the test automation maybe also makes sense instead of manual testing. And then the last topic on the lower part then is the ABAP development tool for Eclipse, or just simply called ABAP in Eclipse, which is the central environment for the developers where they can make code adjustments. And we have now the integration from the readiness check to ABAP in Eclipse that makes the whole adjustment of the custom code to make it S4 compatible as easy as possible. Okay, and this integration, this is then how it looks like. So maybe you can see that here on that column. We have this ADT link column in place, from where you can jump then from the readiness check to the ABAP in Eclipse directly to the program or to the class, whatever there is behind, directly to the code line that needs to be adjusted. So that's really how deeply technical it is also, these findings. So when we are scanning your custom code, we are identifying what of the custom code needs to be adjusted to make it S4 compatible. And this is then, in one report, you can have like 15 or 20 findings, so different line of codes that you need to adjust. Every single line gets a finding in the readiness check, and the developers need to process line by line to make that class or that report really working. And with that links, you directly jump to this code line, and then you can make your adjustments then there. ABAP in Eclipse itself has also some other features besides the code adjustments. It has the integrated testing capabilities, the code refactoring that you also can do. So really powerful, very much used and also by the developers usually. And that's why it also made sense from our perspective to include it then also in our integration. And then the question is whether system conversion and clean core, whether this is working together. So clean core is, of course, a very important topic at SAP. So we want to get our customers closer to a clean core compliant system because that makes the whole upgrade easier. And the system conversion itself, from the nature, is not intended to get very close to an S4 system, because what you are saying at the end is, I take my existing ECC system and move it to S4 and keep everything as it is. So you're not talking there about process adjustments, you're not talking there about code adjustments. The only thing or the only goal is more or less to have a one-to-one step over to S4. And that's the question whether really clean core makes sense in such projects. And from my perspective, that's the case in these various phases. So starting from the assessment and planning phase up to the go live, and then the governance then after the go live. And why does it make sense? So during the assessment and during the planning phase, you will start with the readiness check. This means really your system is analyzed. What are you using? You are measuring this over a very long time frame, so minimum 1 year usually at the customers. And then you get the information which custom code is executed, which functions you are using inside ECC, and then it makes it gives you all the findings, and then you have a look at your custom code. And by nature, a lot of custom code is also not used at customers. So we have different values that are going around there, but we have seen that 60 up to 70% of custom code is not used at customers at all. And so what you can do now, of course, is if you say, I want to be sure that everything is working as it was beforehand, you take it over one-to-one. But why should you make the effort adjusting the custom code if it is not used? Because you have the maintenance anyway then afterwards. So there is the custom code migration app that helps you to identify this unused custom code. The custom code migration app is then also supporting you in the deletion of this unused custom code. And the results of the custom code migration app can be synced back to the readiness check, so that you have in the readiness check in Cloud ALM always the latest stage also regarding your custom code. And then there's also some other things with regards to processes that you are using. For maybe in your ECC landscape or in your ECC system, you have processes in place that are where no successor functionality is existing in S4. And there, then it makes sense to perform then also the business process review and maybe going then into other directions, like maybe for success factors or something. And this is something where a clean core could be a part of this assessment and planning phase. Then during the conversion execution phase, as said, only update this custom code that you're really using. And maybe there are also some low-hanging fruits that you identified during the planning phase also, that you are leveraging some extensibility options that are clean core compliant, like an SAP BDP app maybe that you can use instead of your custom app that you have developed, or side-by-side extensions. So this can be then governed also with the feature functionality in Cloud ALM. So also there it makes sense. Testing is not really clean core specific, but of course it's important because you are refactoring code, you are updating custom code. It means you have then to ensure that this refactored code is not impacting your functionality. And then we are talking also about operation as one of the 5 dimensions of clean core. We have inside Cloud ALM a lot of monitoring capabilities to ensure that you are taking care of these monitoring capabilities also early in the project, that as soon as your S4 is going live, that you have the monitoring also active, and then that you also perform user training, because what you definitely want to avoid is that after the system conversion, you are on S4, there are new requirements coming in, what you need to develop, and you are starting again with with modifications of the system. So you need to tell the developers how they could extend in a clean core compliant way than the S4 system in future. And then Henrik has explained in the morning, I don't know whether you have listened to that session, how in Cloud ALM you can also make this governance framework for clean core projects. If you have not joined the session, they will be published afterwards, after the summit, also on YouTube, so you can have a look there. So that you really keep on track on all changes, that you are identifying, are there any implementations that are not clean core compliant, that you use Cloud ALM capabilities and functionalities to keep track of all the changes that you are doing in future. And with that, I'm going to switch to the demo. So I started here already yesterday, and I've just created a feature. This feature is my container for all custom code adjustments that I want to do in a specific part of the system conversion project. So here the adjustment of material field lengths. What I want to do there is right now just create a transport request. And I need to fill in the owner, source tenant, and the target environment. So create customizing and workbench. So then the creation of this transport is scheduled. This usually takes some seconds. So in the meantime, I'm switching to the readiness check. So I've also uploaded here already an analysis file. So here you have these different findings, simplification items, add-ons that are installed. And you see that here I cannot do at the moment something. I can just get the information displayed from the simplification items, because what I didn't do on purpose is I didn't activate the integration. So here in the administration, we have the SAP Readiness Check integration. So we have customizing options in Cloud ALM. And I can now say that for this specific analysis, I want to allow the creation of requirements and user stories as follow-up. Why do we have here this differentiation? There are customers that are saying, I'm using only requirements in Jira and not in SAP Cloud ALM. That's why I also don't want to have requirements inside Cloud ALM. Then you would only allow user stories. There are also user story-driven projects done at customers, and that's why they also would not like to allow requirements. Or customers are saying, I always want to start with a requirement, and the shortcut to user stories should not be allowed. So that's why we are there quite flexible with the customizing. There will be a third option, hopefully soon, with the feature integration, so that you can also directly create features. And maybe also a fourth option to create issue and action items, so the integration with SAP for Service, that if there are specific topics inside your readiness check where you are not capable of doing it, that you forward this to SAP, and SAP is offering you then service deliveries for the solving of this problem. Here I want to create user stories and requirements. And if I now open the readiness check again, then you see that the screen has changed a bit. Because now I have here a selection, and I have here also this follow-up button. And I want to work on a specific simplification item here with the material number field length extensions. The screen size is not that big, but just trust me that it is about this topic. And I want to create now here an user story as follow-up. And I want to create one user story where I'm including then the custom code adjustments, the data migration, and then I create the user story. Okay, and I directly redo this because I made a mistake with the wrong project. And let's do this again. So important is that you select also the right target project for this. And it is this S4 conversion project demo. User story is still selected, okay. And custom code adjustment. And click on create. Maybe you have recognized that we have here a small bug in this system because two things were missing. But for the demo, it's not that important. So I have now linked this with this user story. If I'm then going on to that user story, then I would also have here the link back to the readiness check item. And also important is that we also maintain the source field so that this user story is coming from the readiness check. So going back to the readiness check, now going to the custom code analysis. And here, still I have to add this number of custom objects because behind that are then the ADT links. And there's also one for material number field length extensions, exactly. So if I click here on that link, I have now all the links to ADT. This is in this column available. And I now can also select these 5 items and assign, in that case, them to an existing user story. As for conversion project demo. And yeah, so it's that one that I just created. You see this here on the created date. And then I make the assignment. And what I have now is, when I jump to that user story again, I have now all these findings here in this readiness check item section. Okay, so let's remember our feature that I have already created. So the transport creation should have been done successfully, exactly, so it is here. I will now link that user story that I just created with this feature. Okay, save. And then as a developer, I would then have the possibility to jump now directly from here to the ABAP in Eclipse environment. And then I'm directly jumping to that program. It was already open, that's why it's not so impressive. But for example, there's also an interface, just 2 clients. Then it's directly then jumping to the interface. And by that, I have then now the possibility to make my adjustments. And let's do adding there 1 line of code. Okay, save that, and then I can save it to the transport request that I have created from the feature. Okay, if I've done this, then I just need to activate it. And then from the transport organizer, I have then also the possibility to release the task. If the click is working. Release. And that will be then the starting point for Moritz, and continuing then with the, was successfully released even, continuing then with the retrofit maintenance.
Thank you, Jörg. I hope you can hear me. Perfect. Yeah, first of all, as Jörg already mentioned, yeah, so the APIs for the features are still missing, yeah, so then you can create then directly as well follow-ups for features, of course, so that's the plan. When we go back now to the Cloud ALM, and we go then into the features here, we can go back there, and I'm in my role as a change manager. I would go now to my feature that I have here. I know that Jörg already released the task, so the transport task. We could check that as well in the CTS organizer. I could click here on the link to check it in the WebDriven Pro. But at the end, yeah, what I would need to do there is to just release the transport requests from here. And since you noticed, yeah, he used only the workbench request, yeah, so the customizing request will get deleted then automatically because it's empty. But yeah, the release now takes a second, so I will take the opportunity then as well to maybe just show to you another new app, so the transport analysis app that was mentioned already as well several times, just to show you that you can see here then as well from a bottom-up perspective when you go to the transport analysis. That you can see as well the transport requests and what's happening there. Yeah, so we can see here that the release is scheduled for those 2 transport requests. We have a few transport requests in this Cloud ALM tenant. Yeah, that's due to the fact that the demo systems, they are connected to several Cloud ALM tenants. So we have a lot of transport requests, but you can see here as well that the release is scheduled. So that's really this bottom-up approach, so that you can come with the transport ID, and then you can figure out to which feature it belongs, if it is maybe not belonging to any feature yet. So that's what you can easily figure out in here. And then you have as well, of course, filter options, yeah, based on projects. Yeah, so for example, that you could easily figure in your project, in your conversion project, what's ongoing then. All right, I will just jump back then to my feature again. And hopefully the release is through. And yep, we can see the workbench transport was released now. And we can see as well in the history that the customizing transport was empty and therefore it was deleted. Yeah, so yeah, in the next step, it would be then the deploy that needs to be triggered so that you can hand over to test. That will take now a second, but we have already some good recordings, I think, about this topic, so that you can easily deploy. Deployment is scheduled then for the next client, and then you can move ahead with the feature into the testing status. And that would as well conclude the demo. And by that, I would maybe then just switch back to the presentation. Let me check. I will just go down. There we are. Thank you. Thank you, Jörg. So that was the demo about this topic. And now I would like to talk a little bit about how can SAP Cloud ALM support your dual maintenance of SAP ECC and SAP S/4HANA. Because we just talked about, okay, how can you do a conversion, but usually you will have then a dual maintenance that you need to do for your ECC systems that are still ongoing, and then you do the conversion for your SAP S/4HANA systems. And at the moment we have the options, as you know, in Cloud ALM you can create a deployment plan. Deployment plan consists of several system groups. There we have then, in that case, a maintenance system group and one for the conversion system, for the conversion systems of system landscape there. That would mean you need to configure those two system groups in a deployment plan, and we would then as well recommend to then as well create a release for the maintenance and for your conversion project. Background here is more or less, as you know, we have usually in one project you can reuse as well the different object types and stuff like that, so you could as well use several projects, yeah? So you could use as well 2 projects then in that sense. But if you have then, for example, test case that you would like to reuse, yeah, it makes sense to have it in one project. That's why it's our recommendation at the moment to do so. And when you have this single project for your maintenance and your conversion, then you can create a feature for maintenance and add then this maintenance release accordingly. It could be called however you like, BAU, maintenance, whatsoever. And then we recommend that you can create then a project task in the feature to inform in the end your conversion project team about the changes that need to be redone, so that you can do kind of a manual dual landscape tracking and dual landscape changing. But at the end, the corresponding retrofit feature could then be created for your conversion system group with a conversion release, and there you need to redo the changes manually. So you need to perform the changes manually at the moment. Yeah, that's where we are, and we know it's not perfect, but it's an option that you have with Cloud ALM to do so. But of course, yeah, it's always the question then about, okay, what is about retrofit? Yeah, will we have this in Cloud ALM as well soon? And we have there already a lab preview. Yeah, so the idea is that really in the deployment plan, if you have then 2 system groups, maybe one for your maintenance, one for your conversion project, that you could then as well say, okay, I would like to configure one source system in my maintenance system group. And I will configure then as well a retrofit system in the conversion system group. Yeah, in display mode, it would look like that, so that you have all the information here. And this information can then be reused to do then later on, yeah, first, then a manual retrofit in that sense, where we help them with dual landscape tracking that I will show in a second. And then in a second iteration, we would like to go, of course, into the retrofit automation. So first of all, system groups do look the same. And in the first iteration, we would then kind of make it more convenient, I would say, so that you can do manual retrofit in SAP Cloud ALM for tracking purposes. You have there the information about what's your ECC source system, so that's the dev system. You have your retrofit system, S4 dev in that sense. And then we could go ahead and say we have a project for maintenance and one for conversion. Yeah? So you have 2 projects in sum. And then you can create a maintenance feature in your maintenance project there. Yeah? And you add there a corresponding transport request. And when you would then trigger a manual retrofit in this particular feature, we will create a corresponding retrofit feature in your retrofit project. And there we will add then a transport request in the S4 dev automatically. So at least you have then all the information that you need, and you can then have as well the relation established automatically between maintenance and retrofit features, so that you see that there is a relation. That's as well important for the traceability later on. And then the maintenance changes must then still be performed in the S4 dev system, but like that you can keep track of it, and you can as well maintain the doing in that sense, so that you have then always everything in place, and you have as well a traceability on top of it. But still some manual stuff that needs to be done. So that's why we said, okay, we need to go into an iteration 2. And you saw already in the keynotes as well the timeline. So they are, for end of 2025, we have planned something like that, so that we have as well a retrofit automation available. Tough timelines, but we are pretty confident that we can keep it due to the fact what we already discussed internally. So you would as well create there a project for maintenance and for conversion. You would as well create a feature in a maintenance project, and you would have a corresponding transport request. But then when you trigger the retrofit, we will check at the end the objects that are assigned to it, like you know it as well from Solution Manager. And we will check whether the objects can be retrofitted automatically or if something needs to be done. So at the end, you will get a green traffic light for object 1 because it can be retrofitted automatically. It's not locked anywhere else. And with the object 2, you would need to do a manual retrofit. So that would mean the objects without the conflicts can be taken over to an S4 dev system automatically and can be assigned to a receiver transport request. We left it here explicitly open, if it is automatically created or not, because that could be as well a configuration option if you would like to have then automatically created a retrofit feature with a receiver TR, or you just want to select one of the receiver TRs that you could later on assign. And of course, for all the other objects, you need to manually perform the same then, and you can do then as well the assignment to the receiver TR there, so you can reuse the same receiver TR. And then you need to bound it to a retrofit feature for your S4 conversion systems, means in your conversion project, and that's where you can then use the deployment functionality from Cloud ALM. Yeah, so that's the idea behind. We are really looking mainly at the retrofit automation as well as then the manual retrofit together. So the semi-automatic stuff at the moment we are discussing still. Yeah, so that's something, but it will be the focus mainly really on the retrofit automation so that we can cover a lot of object types that can be retrofitted automatically, if possible. Therefore, we will have then an object locking mechanism that we have then as a baseline for it so that the retrofit functionality could work properly. But what has this to do then with the conversion in that sense, right? So that's where, of course, the ATC check integration into the retrofit is something that is still missing. And there we plan as well the ATC hub integration into Cloud ALM. It will be a bit different, but the end quite same to what we know already from Solution Manager or from Change Request Management there. So in this scenario, the development or the test system of your target landscape, it could be as well your source landscape in that sense, because we anyway have RFC connections, but at the moment we are planning with the target landscape. It must be configured as your ATC hub, so that the checks can be done. You have always the connection then via HTTPS through the Cloud ALM, and that's where then the ATC hub can check then the objects, so that you have your S/4HANA readiness target release information. If you get a priority 1 or 2 impact, so then the object is set to manual retrofit as you know it, and the ATC check, of course, is then only as well checking the custom code. But all of this is something that we have in the SDPI area already available. It's available in the managed systems, and that's why we can configure an ATC hub there with the S/4HANA simplification database in the machine room in that sense. That's the state of planning, which direction we would like to head to as well then help with these conversion projects. And with that, we are already at the summary, and there I would first hand over to Jörg again.
Yeah, so just that you also see then the speed of how fast we have achieved that various point, that we have integrated so many tools. The integration of the readiness check started last year in August, and now 1 year later we have then already achieved this extended integration readiness check with the custom code migration app to have there all the information that are also relevant for your planning first of all, but also then later on for the project execution. We have identified at the beginning of this year that this integration with ABAP and Eclipse is important, and this was then also rapidly developed by our team in China to make that available. And now what we are going to detail out a little bit more is how these clean core principles can be applied in the various projects, transformation projects that customers are doing. As said, for me, clean core can also be applied in a system conversion project. It's not just that you will leave it to selective data transition or to new implementation. Also in a system conversion, it makes sense. And then to close then really the final gap is to offer then also the manual dual landscape tracking.
Yeah, I don't have to mention too much about it. I showed it beforehand. So the dual landscape tracking that we have at the moment, yeah, it's something that we have available. You can use features where you can put in as well transports for different system landscapes. That's possible already. Of course, we need to close this one gap so that we can then create as well features as follow-up items. That's planned for Q4, Q1, so that we will offer the APIs so then we can use them as well internally. I heard what Jörg mentioned, so we need to then as well speed up a little bit so that we offer this option then as well. And maybe when you can make the last click, so then it's the idea that we go then later on into the direction then integrating as well the ATC hub, so that we can then do retrofit properly and can support your dual landscape approach then and accelerate your system conversion properly. So that's, I think, the missing piece at the end, so that you can do as well then your dual landscape maintenance from ECC to S4. We heard it, we know that we need to do it, and we need to execute it on it now. And that's
okay. Then,
it.
As you know that slides, if you want to say something about the session, you can use it with this tag in the different social media parts, and then we are ready for questions if there are some. You need to raise your hand, and then we would give you the microphone. Everything clear? Okay. Okay.
I think what you explained was really clear in general. That's why there are no questions. So I will go with something that it was not the topic, but it was shown also there. So since there are no questions, I will take the chance. The integration between the feature and the transport. Okay. At the moment, we know there is a job running on the system every time and so on. So it's not as, let's say, direct as it was in Solution Manager, where we have an RFC. Are there any plans for the future to make it an event integration, something like that? So when I do a demo for the teams and so, I don't need to wait like, okay, now we need to wait instead of what we have in Solman that was direct and you liked. So any future plan for that?
Yes, it's a very valid question. We get it a lot. Yeah, so we are looking into cloud connector options as well. Yeah, so that would be the first choice, I would say, for us. We need to see, of course, that for the customer base that is using it at the moment, and for them it's maybe sufficient as well with the jobs, that everything is running as expected there as well. So we need to see when we can embed or integrate, I would say, with cloud connector options, but that would be definitely something we have, I think, as well in the customer influencing already, and customer influencing requests around it that has a lot of votes there. That is exactly going into that direction. We will offer that as soon as possible. But at the moment, we are from priority perspective, we are working on other topics, on different other topics. So we need to see when we can get to it. But we know that this is a challenge for the customers as well as for partners. And it's as well a challenge for me when I'm demoing stuff, because I need to wait all the time so that I get some feedback. But yeah, we heard it, and we will definitely look into this. And Cloud Connector would be most likely then the choice that we would go for.
Further questions? Okay, then thanks for your time. Thanks for joining the session. And if there are some questions left, please contact us directly.